They're the easiest one in the whole exercise.
Unless Aiden O'Connell takes a DEFCON rating and was like, no, you're preparing for nuclear warfare for somebody else, to Denzel Washington, where he just like takes the gun and immediately points it at somebody else, you know? What movie is that? I haven't seen that movie. People are going to yell at me for that.
It's not Man on Fire, right?
Look, brother,
no,
haven't seen it.
Denzel has such a deep catalog that I truly mix up his iconic scenes at this point.
Is it Training Day?
I think it's Training Day.
Is it?
People in the comments are just going to be furious right now. I apologize.
Look, yell at us, and that's fine.
One day we'll just rank the Denzel catalog on this show, but
that would be elite. And then we'd have to, watch them. So then people wouldn't be able to yell at us anymore. Hey, obviously there's a lot of craziness that's going on with this quarterback class. We're getting into it. There's all sorts of stuff that...
The Equalizer.
What do you mean? What is? Oh, that's what it's from?
Yes. Yes.
We got there eventually. Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers joining you on an early week edition of the show where we figured we talked a little quarterbacks. We're 5 weeks into the NFL season, 6 weeks into the college football season. We sort of updated the total team needs a couple weeks ago. We did a mock draft, and in the mock draft, we sort of talked about some QB needy teams, but it's the most important position, right? And there's so much parity between what people think of how many quarterbacks should go in the first round, or even teams that might be desperate enough to pick some of these guys, because I think that it all kind of goes hand in hand. But we're going to get into the bottom of it. We're going to give you a DEFCON rating for your favorite football team on whether or not we think they need a quarterback going into the 2025 season. Connor, I think it's going to be a fun one. How you doing, my friend?
It really is. It's funny. You had to text me. You're like, DEFCON 1 is the most alarming. Right. DEFCON 5 is they will not need a quarterback. We go through this exercise, I swear, like 3 times a year as we try to use DEFCON as a reference on the show. So I did appreciate that because honestly, I forgot again. And I think it's just a really good way to break down who's going to be in on this quarterback class, who might be in on different tiers of this quarterback class, and then who as a franchise has the most stability at the most important position in football.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll get into a lot of talk of contracts, situations, right, how quarterbacks are playing right now, whether we think it's a short-term thing, a long-term thing. So we're going to get into this with every single team. We're going to cover all 32 teams in the NFL. I'm actually going to, like we do with the mock draft simulator, I'm going to pull this up and we are going to read the definition of DEFCON so everybody knows what we are talking about here. Okay? So here, this is Wikipedia. And, we've evolved. We can use Wikipedia. I know they frowned upon it when you were in school, but Wikipedia is a established organization now. All right, DEFCON. So there's no confusion throughout the show. The defense readiness condition, DEFCON, is an alert state used by the United States Armed Forces. For security reasons, the U.S. military does not announce DEFCON levels to the public. We're going to announce DEFCON levels for quarterbacks here on the show. The DEFCON system was developed by Joint Chief of Staff and unified and specified combat commands. It prescribes 5 graduated levels of readiness, state of alertness for the U.S. military. All right. It increases in severity from DEFCON 5, which is least severe, to DEFCON 1, the most severe, to match the varying military situations, with DEFCON 1 signaling the impending outbreak of nuclear warfare. And of course, that's, exactly how we're going to parallel quarterback talks, because sometimes when you read Twitter's responses to fans, they feel like they're about to dive into nuclear warfare when the quarterback's not playing well. So, that's the parallel that we're going with here. Connor, we'll go by divisions. I feel like that's the easiest way to do this.
Yeah.
AFC East, as we always kind of start off with the AFC East. But real quick, I'll just go through it, and then I think we could jump into it. That's probably the best way to do it. We didn't talk this out throughout the show, so you guys are in for a treat. Buffalo Bills, it's DEFCON 5. It's the least severe. You got Josh Allen. He's a superhero playing quarterback in this league. Miami Dolphins, I have as DEFCON 2, which we can get into. New England Patriots, I also have this DEFCON 5. Not worried about it at all because you have Drake May on the roster. It doesn't look great.
See him play.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but I've got him at DEFCON 5, and then the Jets I have at DEFCON 2.
Interesting.
So you tell me, what do you got? What do you got for this division?
So we're doing this by our own personal feelings too, right? Not trying to necessarily read what a team is doing, or maybe both.
Oh, yeah. No. I think that this is what we feel about the team.
Yeah. So I did factor in a little bit about the necessity for a backup based on your quarterback's injury risk.
Okay. Yeah.
So
sure.
I actually had the Bills at 4. And it has nothing to do with Josh Allen.
Okay.
Josh Allen is the, second quarterback taken in a league redraft over and over again.
Right.
I mean, obviously you can make the argument for Lamar and things like that, but as it stands, the reason I put them at 4 is Allen is, as we've seen over the years, a wild player. He takes some of the biggest hits at the position in football, and credit to him at, 6'5", 240 pounds. He gets up from a lot of those hits. He looked legitimately out cold on Sunday for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
I don't have any faith in Mitch Trubisky as a backup. So the reason I had the Bills at 4, and this could be really quick, is just I think they should explore a cost-effective, reliable backup option for Josh Allen in the later tier of the quarterback class. I'm not saying they're using a pick in the first 3 rounds on one. It's just something with the way Allen plays as he gets older that I think for a team that is always thinking they're in a Super Bowl window, justifiably so, I that's the market I would explore for the Bills.
I don't hate it. Obviously, I went about this like Josh Allen, unquestioned top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
And he is.
And he is. And so I went immediate DEFCON 5, but I can see what you are saying here. And it is funny that you said this because I can already tell how we're doing these teams, or even just the Buffalo Bills at all.
Might be a little different.
That we're going to be a little bit different, I think, as this episode goes on. So, okay. What about actually, before we get into the Dolphins and the Jets, Patriots, what was your
5? Okay.
So you put a 5.
And you got to see Drake May play.
Yeah. Okay.
And the funny thing is the Patriots could be a little bit of the opposite, where Jacoby Brissett, if he decides to stay there, like he's a totally normal backup quarterback in the NFL. So their roster is exactly what it is at the position.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got a 4 and a 5 there. I have the Dolphins at a 2, and then I have the Jets at a 2. Where did you have these teams?
So I had the Dolphins at a 3, but I do feel like I should probably gear more towards a 2, as I just talked to myself about the backup situation. They've been a team without a backup. I actually don't know why they cut Mike White after all of this, to be honest with you. Jets legend Mike White. Here's the hang up for me, Trevor. They just paid Tua.
Right.
A lot of money.
Right.
So are they going to say, hey, it is what it is. We got to be in and get a quarterback in the first round? I would have no problem with them doing that. But I feel like I think as long as Mike McDaniel's there, they are going to ride this thing out with Tua. So I have them at a 3 because they still need to look at a guy for the future, and that guy can serve a purpose as a backup next year for Tua. So I have them right in the middle. I feel like they're a team that could take a quarterback on day 2.
I have them as higher, and the contract is obviously a little tricky here, okay? Tua just signed the massive deal, like you said. He's got 4 years left on his deal. He's a $39 million cap hit this year. Then it jumps up to 56, then it jumps to 53, or then goes down to 53, and then it jumps back up to 65 million in those next 4 years. You add then an 11 million void year at the end on top of that to kind of encapsulate the whole contract. So contract-wise, this gets really tricky. Like, unless Tua were to retire, or there's something medically in the contract where it's like, hey, I mean, if this dude can't play, then we kind of have an out here. I have no idea if there's any sort of language in that at all, but his concussion history is ugly, man. I mean, we talked about when he got a concussion earlier this season, obviously the reason he's not playing, we started talking about, like, should the league step in and talk to him about retiring? And the reports have come out that that's not going to happen. It's to his decision, but I think it's a 2 because, like you said, there's no viable backup quarterback on this roster. We are seeing that every single Sunday now. And with the contract the way that it is, if Tua is healthy, you're with him for the next 2-ish years at least because of how the contract is structured, I think. But I have them at a 2 because the concussions are dangerous, man. And you get more susceptible to them, not only the more you have, but the more severe ones you have. So I hope Tua never has a single shot to his head ever again. Like, I hope he is completely healthy and plays another 15 years in this league. But we're seeing what it looks like and the situation that he's currently in. We'll see, I guess, what it looks like, what he is like coming back. And then, man, I hope that he has a fully healthy season, at least just this year. Like, get out of this year without having another concussion. But that's
what would that even prove for you, right? Like, that's not the issue with Tua. We got the healthy season last year, and then we went right back on the roller coaster ride again this year. It's horrible. It's a shame.
You're saying the play or his concussion history?
His history now.
Because I also think that, like, his play goes into it, where it's not like he's been a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, when he's been healthy. But the more important part is, obviously, is he going to be able to be out there? So to me,
be able to play,
given the injury history, that's why we're at DEFCON 2, man. Because I don't know how many more hits this guy can even take. And again, like I said, the understood is that I hope he plays for a long, 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 long time. But the situation kind of is what it is. So we're at DEFCON 2 with the Miami Dolphins.
I think you convinced me on that one. I'd move up to a 2 as well.
Jets, I have them as DEFCON 2 simply because Rodgers, 1 year left on his deal after this year. The money part, I don't think really matters. The age part does. 42 years old. It's been a frustrating season for the Jets. There's not really somebody who's on the roster, obviously. You know, they don't have Zach Wilson who's sitting there getting ready to come back in, you know, when Aaron Rodgers is done. So to me, it was sort of this situation where you kind of got to think about quarterback. I mean, we had the quarterback conversation with the Jets for last year's draft. Do you draft a quarterback at number 11 or somewhere, wherever you're going to pick? Did the Jets trade up for a quarterback in the future? And obviously they went with Olu Fashanu instead. But that's why this is a 2 for me, is this becomes an impending situation pretty quickly, depending on what happens with Rodgers.
So it was a 3 for me because, and it's hard to take him at his word, but Rodgers has been very open about playing this year and at least next year. Mm-hmm. They signed Tyrod Taylor as a backup for this year and next year. So they built a 2-year quarterback room. They need to see, when healthy, what Jordan Travis looks like in a practice setting and next year's preseason. And I'm not saying like we're expecting Jordan Travis to be something, but they took him on day 3 of last year's draft with the hope of, let's see what he's got while we have 2 established quarterbacks on the roster. Mm-hmm. And then after 2025, if he just doesn't have anything, and even if he does, like, we're all in. So I think it might be a year early for the Jets. I just think they're going to try to maximize the roster with Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor in 2024 and 2025. And then after 2025, they could tear this thing down all the way down from like the foundation and bolts, where it's a new GM, it's a new coach, they're drafting a quarterback, all of those things. So I just don't think this is the year, but I have them at a 3 because there's the variable that Rodgers retires after this year, and then it changes really quickly.
The reason why I ended up going with a 2 is because I also agree with you and what he has said. I think the plan would be for him to play another 2 years, but it's clearly pretty frustrating for them right now. And the wrench that you could throw into this is if the Jets don't have a good year this year and they move on from Robert Saleh. I don't know if Joe Douglas would be on like with him in moving on, like if it's a package deal or something. But let's even say like you move on from Robert Saleh, that means you're moving on from Nathaniel Hackett as well. Like it's going to be a brand new coaching staff. Does Rodgers at that point think about how frustrating this past year was, and he was like, I don't want to do a first time connection with a head coach thing. I'm just I'm just over it. Yeah.
So that's why it's a 3 for me. There's that chance. It's not the most likely scenario, but it exists.
Okay.
But even in that scenario, I almost wonder, and people might like laugh at this, but I almost wonder, are you then all in on next year's quarterback class? Do we think the Jets are going to be picking in the top 10? Tyrod's still under contract. Once again, they really want to see Jordan Travis play.
Yeah.
And when you look at the drop off that Florida State has had at the position this year, it at least makes you wonder, can he be something? So yeah, I'm right in the middle on this one. It's a 3. It can go either way.
All right. I went with a 2. You went with a 3. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Let's move on to the AFC North. I think 2 teams, very easy. We can get them out of the way. Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson, DEFCON 5. Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals, DEFCON
5 and 5.
Okay, all right. Easy. So no variance there with those 2 quarterbacks. what an unbelievable football game those two dudes put on this past weekend. Holy cow. Overtime was justified for the type of performance that both of those guys were having, and very clear examples of DEFCON 5s and quarterbacks that we hope are playing for those teams for a long, long time. Cleveland Browns, this is DEFCON 1, man.
Get the nukes ready.
This is DEFCON 1. This situation sucks. There is no way around it. And we talked about it when we did team needs, and we talked about it when we did the mock draft episode. So I'm sorry, Cleveland Browns fans who are listening to this episode, but it's DEFCON 1. And there's a lot of context and everything that goes into this, but Deshaun simply is not good. He has had 1.5 good games through 5 weeks of this season. The big issue, and of course the big pushback to whether or not they would be DEFCON 1 and so in on this upcoming quarterback class, is of course the contract. 3 more years on the deal. The cap goes from here we go. The cap goes from a $27 million hit this year, which Deshaun is, to a $72 million cap hit next year and a $72 million cap hit the year after that. He is completely uncuttable until at least 2027 because he has a $172 million dead cap hit for next season if you moved on from him. And then it is a $99 million dead cap hit if you move on from him, even just the year after that. Now, there's some, I'm sure, if we had Brad Spielberger on here, he could probably say if they release him at a certain point or they do something, right, maybe you don't accelerate all that money. Maybe you can move it out from a couple of years. But the fact of the matter is, his contract is basically uncuttable over the last 2 years, but he is playing some of the worst quarterback in the league, if not the worst at this point in time. I feel like Bryce Young might be the only one who was playing worse ball this season than Deshaun Watson is. So it's DEFCON 1. Yeah. I don't care about the contract. Like you said, we need the nuke defense systems up and ready for this one because it's high alert. It's not good in Cleveland.
It's terrible in Cleveland right now, and it's at the point where you probably just gotta bite the bullet on this one and, get him out of the building, eat all this money for a while. You're going to be really hamstrung for a while and turn the page to a new era. You just wonder, is everybody going down with this ship, right? Is the owner, Stefanski clearly, and you tweeted this, Trevor, has no ability to change quarterback.
No, yeah, and that's the tough dynamic sometimes when it comes to coaches and star players, specifically quarterbacks. Quarterbacks mean more than coaches do most of the time. Right. Almost 99% of the time, they mean more than the coaches do. Deshaun makes at least 5 or 6 times a year what Kevin Stefanski makes. Just the value in the organization in that alone.
Right.
So, he gets asked afterwards, after that game, hey, are you thinking about making a change of quarterback? And he's like, no, Deshaun's our quarterback. Like you said, he has no control over that. He can send a suggestion, and the suggestion's probably, hey, this guy's not playing good. We're not going to win football games. Here's the evidence of it. But the only people that can bench Deshaun Watson right now are the Haslams. It's the only people who can do it. They have $230 million of their dollars invested in him. And so I don't really know where this ends, but I will say this. Getting to more like the DEFCON 1 for, the situation and kind of giving you a positive outlook, whether Deshaun's on the team or not, whether you cut him and eat all that dead money or not, they are, at this point in time, 5 weeks through the season, picking number 4 overall in the draft.
Right.
If you select a rookie quarterback, that is basically your best case scenario, because then as you try to recoup all of the dead money that it might take to move on from Deshaun Watson, that it would take to move on from Deshaun Watson, you get a cap controlled rookie contract for a quarterback that you are hopefully playing for the next 4 to 5 years at the very least, and then hopefully another contract there after that. So it's DEFCON 1 because even with all the money, I understand it. The only lifeboat you have is drafting a quarterback and having them on a rookie contract.
And I'll be fascinated to see if, I don't think this will happen, but if there was a time, if I was an agent, I would want nothing to do with my quarterback going there. Nothing to do with it. I mean, when you just look at what's happened to the offense from a roster standpoint, I like Stefanski a lot. I think
Stefanski's a good coach, obviously.
He's being dealt not great hand.
And the offensive line's been beat up and it sucked. And the wide receivers.
Older.
Right. And the wide receivers that they brought in.
Getting older. And well, Judy's not old, but he's Jared Judy. I mean, okay.
Yeah. He's fine.
I don't know, man. I don't think that'll happen. I think whoever they draft will just go there, but it could be a tough road for that player, in my opinion, unless I think Stefanski helps, but he's got a lot of work to do around him.
Steelers I have as DEFCON 2. Where do you have
Okay, I had them as a 3.
Okay. I have the 2 specifically. There's a little bit of hindsight from what we saw on Sunday Night Football with the Dallas Cowboys. But I think DEFCON 2 is sort of insulting to how well Justin Fields has played. And I want to fully admit that. But they almost went with Russell Wilson to start the year anyways. And I don't really know what this quarterback room looks like with both of these guys on essentially one-year deals for this season. Fields in the last year of his rookie contract. Russell Wilson's on a one-year deal. The offense isn't good enough right now. They're sort of playing the brand of football that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin typically want to play. Run the football, play really good defense, and then let's get some splash plays out of our quarterback. And it's just not good enough. You watch the Sunday Night Football game. Dallas tried to give you that whole game. They had the turnovers. They had bad defense. Dallas tried to give you that game, but you did not have enough firepower on the offense to capitalize on it. And I think receiver goes into that. I'm not trying to say that it's all on the quarterback. But are either of these guys, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, going to do enough for this Steelers team to say, yeah, okay, we'll sign one of you back and you're absolutely 100% the quarterback next year? Because it feels like 5 weeks in, even for as good as Justin Fields has played, if the proof is in the pudding sort of for the results of the wins and losses, you might be at a point where even if you bring Justin Fields back, they're probably bringing someone else in. They're drafting somebody somewhere. So I'm with the 2 here for the Steelers.
Yeah, it's tricky. I'm hoping Justin Fields can play his way into potentially being the guy for them. This thing with the Steelers that always trips me up is they're just always too good to be in a position to get a guy.
Right.
So they're going to come to the crossroads where, say they win 9 games this year, and say the 3 quarterbacks they like go in front of them. Do they just kind of find a way to keep Fields and run it back, and they'll still take a quarterback, but Fields is still there? The Steelers were a classic 3 out of the 5 scale for me, right in the middle, because there's just so much season left to be played to really get an answer on this.
Yeah. I wonder if how uncertain the quarterbacks might be could actually play into their favor, right? Because if this is a team that
some guys fall.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, we're not picking in the top 10. We have no chance at getting a quarterback this year. We might get one quarterback top 10. We might get one quarterback top 20. I don't even know how this class is going to play out. I think there's some guys that you could take some swings on in the top 20, but I don't know exactly.
And then what do you pay Fields?
It's weird. So
he's looked better than ever this year.
For sure, 100%. And that's why I don't want... DEFCON 2 feels insulting to how well Fields has played, or at least improved, I should say.
And it just feels like the inevitable Russell Wilson conversation will not go away.
Right.
Which I don't really agree with. I don't know if Russ moves the needle for them, but it's just when you have 2 quarterbacks and you don't play a perfect game, this conversation just inevitably happens, whether it's fair or not.
They also need way better wide receivers. So,
dude, they have nothing. Like the whole Pickens drama now with him not playing the full snap count.
Yeah, I don't understand, man. I mean,
there's just a lot of issues with the offense.
Strange. So quarterback's not the biggest issue, but I gave him a DEFCON 2. You gave him a DEFCON 3. You're soft. You're getting soft on these teams.
Yeah. I am. Let's see what happens here.
See what happens, Jim. Okay, whether it's a touchdown, a TD, a tutty, taking it to the house, in for 6, whatever you want to call a touchdown, one thing is for sure, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, special teams, even defense. Hey, we don't care how they score them. Just want to bet on touchdowns. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet on touchdowns this season. If you're ready to place your first NFL bet, try something very simple, like a player scoring a touchdown. If you're a Steelers believer and you think that they're absolutely going to take this thing to the moon, and you know exactly what's going to happen with their wide receivers and where the ball is going to go, you think that we're absolutely stupid. It should be a DEFCON 5. Justin Fields is about to light the world on fire through the air, and you know who's scoring the touchdown coming up. There you go. That's your bet. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet on touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code PFF. It's promo code PFF to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, it's 877-8-HOPE-NY, or you can just text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, visit dkng.co/FTBALL. AFC South. This one's a pretty easy one for me. Houston Texans, DEFCON 5. Yes, CJ Stroud. Indianapolis Colts. I have DEFCON 4.
Okay.
Jacksonville Jaguars, I have as DEFCON 4 as well, but
yeah, me too.
I mean, it could be a 5 just because they signed Trevor Lawrence. If they blow everything up with the coaching staff, it's obviously going to be still built around Lawrence anyways. So me saying that, I feel like it should be a 5. Even if you don't love how Lawrence has progressed to this point in his NFL career, he's not going anywhere for this team. So that one probably should have been a 5, but I wanted to recognize how Lawrence hasn't exactly become who we've wanted him to become so far in his NFL career. And then the Tennessee Titans, I don't have as like nuclear apocalypse. I have them as DEFCON 2. I don't know where you have them.
So do I.
Okay.
I think we had everything the same, except I had the Colts at a 5 instead of a 4.
I'm worried about Richardson, man.
I get it. I get it. I just,
not only is he hurt, but like when he's been out there, he is still so high variance.
He could be the 30th best quarterback in the rest of the games he plays this year, and they're giving him year 3.
For sure. Okay, so
look at the prospect profile.
You're right. If we're doing this about DEFCON for the quarterback situation going into next year, which is, you're correct. This is how we should be doing it. I should have them as a 5. I'm just worried about AR at this point.
Of course, I'm worried about a lot of different situations. I'm worried about Drake May probably making his debut against the Texans with that Patriots offense around. This is so. But I have the Titans as a 2 as well. That's probably our most interesting conversation on the board, right?
Yeah, I think so. So I have them as a 2, not a 1, because Will Levis is wild. But it's like I said when we were doing the team needs in the mock draft episode. I'm not ready to totally give up on it. I'm not. He got hurt. He got hurt. That's why Mason Rudolph comes in the game. And then after the game, Brian Callahan immediately goes, no. Will's the starting quarterback when he's healthy.
Right.
Like, he understands this season is the journey. It's the Will Levis journey. We're all on it. We took the stuff. We're walking in the woods. It's a spiritual journey. We're all hallucinating. That's what we're on here. So I think that I'm not ready to say that it's like, yes, they're 100% going to be in on the quarterback class. They had a bye week this week, so they're not as low on the draft order, or high on the draft order, actually, within the top 5 as they could be, given their record. But I'm not ready to give up on Levis. I'm not. He does some things that starting NFL quarterbacks do at a high level when it comes to the arm strength, being able to layer throws, attacking the intermediate and deep levels of the field, and even attack over the middle. He's got the boneheaded plays that everybody remembers, but that's where I'm at with the Titans, DEFCON 2, and I'm firm in it.
Yeah, I'm with you on a lot of that. I think we need to see Will Levis play this year, right? And I understand that we're on a 2, which is the scale trending towards this team will have to look elsewhere at quarterback, but it hasn't reached. I think a 1 is, right? The combo we had around the Browns with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has stunk for a long time now with the Browns and is getting worse week after week, it feels like. With Will Levis, we're just kind of on a roller coaster right now. We don't know if he's not the guy. We don't feel great about it, even going back to his prospect profile, but he still deserves the time to show some of the flashes that he has had this year.
I agree. I am curious. Any Titans fans who might be watching or listening to this show, do you feel the same way? Because it's sort of different when we've got no dog in the fight. Neither of us are Titans fans.
Right.
So it might be a little bit different. I wonder if Titans fans agree with us, or if they just go, no, we watched this guy in the preseason. We watched him through training camp. We've watched him already. We watched him a little bit last year. Moving on. We're at DEFCON 1. We're ready for, all out warfare for a new QB next season. I'm curious. So please let me know. I would love to know. But the other ones, yeah, I think are pretty easy. What did you have Jacksonville at? Do you have them 5 or did you have them 4?
4.
Was it just because of the Lawrence thing or what?
Yeah, it's not where it needs to be, but the reality is they've already kind of dug in on this.
Yeah.
So do I think they're going to take a quarterback? No, but I can't sit here and we called Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson situations 5s. I don't think Trevor Lawrence deserves to be in that breath right now.
I think that's fair. I really do. So he signed a 5-year contract extension. So he has a straight up contract with active years until 2030. And he doesn't really get flexible until 2028. So it's like this guy for next season's purposes, I'm glad that you had him a 4 so we could kind of bring this up and have the Trevor Lawrence conversation, because it feels like this season things aren't going well with Doug Peterson. He doesn't really trust the offense and how Press Taylor's calling it. He's pressing things now at this point. You're seeing him miss high. You're seeing the footwork kind of regress a little bit. You could tell he's under a lot of pressure. He signs the contract now. Not only was it his team before, now it's his team more than ever. The team's not playing well. He feels like he's got to shoulder a lot of that. And you just see him pressing, honestly, a lot this season. And
right.
So some of those fundamentals and some of those consistency parts of his game are taking a step back. And I think it was worth both of us putting him at a 4, but for situation standpoint, I mean, they're 0% interested in the quarterback class coming up. So could have very well been a DEFCON 5 there for Jacksonville. AFC West, Denver Broncos, I have as a DEFCON 4.
Me too.
Okay. All right. So we see Bo Nix the same. 3-game win streak, Bo Nix.
That's right.
People forget.
Did enjoy him, clapping back at Sean Payton.
Dude is great.
I loved it. I'm serious.
Can I just say this? I don't know if Bo Nix is going to turn out to be an All-Pro or not. All right? I don't know if he's going to be a Pro Bowler. I think
Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler.
I think it is, all due respect. I was reminded that Vince Young was a Pro Bowler. I don't know if you forgot that or not, but Vince Young had 1 year with the Titans.
He had a crazy run.
He played well enough to where I think there were 2 dropouts and he got to play in a Pro Bowl. So,
Was Josh Freeman a Pro Bowler? No, I don't think he was, but he did have a nuclear year. 2010 was nuts.
I think I blacked out that entire season, so you would have to look up and tell me if the team that I grew up rooting for, he ended up making a Pro Bowl.
He didn't, but I feel like the Pro Bowl had some more respect for itself back then.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
Yeah. So, look, I don't know if Nix is ever going to ascend to that level. It feels like it's just the easy thing to do, to be like, haha, Bo Nix, look at him fail. Bo Nix is doing good things this season. He was even doing some good things amidst the first couple of games, which were bad. There were catastrophic things that happened. He was missing deep. He didn't have control of the offense. He's a rookie starting week 1. I think that it was annoying me. Not even as somebody who ranked Bo decently high last year, but one, we expect way too much out of these quarterbacks anyways. And it's if they don't come out and they don't play a perfect game or something at the beginning of the season, the bar is just too high. When you are watching rookie quarterbacks in the first half of their rookie season, you have to take away the positives. Yes, the negatives exist, and there's probably going to be more bad than good. But are there positive things that you could build upon? That's what's actually worth analyzing when it comes to rookie quarterbacks. It's not the overall, did they get the win or did they get the loss? Did they pass for more yards than Joe Burrow? Did they have more big-time throws than Josh Allen? It's unrealistic standards. They're going to fail more than they're going to succeed. They're rookie quarterbacks. It's just what happens. It's why what Jaden Daniels is doing this year is just phenomenally over the bar and worth the praise. So I just want to kind of go on a mini Bo rant where it's hey, I understand it's not perfect, but he is playing okay, and there are good things that you can point to. So I feel like people just miss that because they just want to go LOL, look at Bo Nix and look at this interception that he threw. He's not horrendous. I say that he's probably going to lay a giant egg this weekend, and people are going to come back and come at me. But that's my quarterback rant. I feel like I've been doing that a bunch lately. But
your all-time famous quote from about a year ago: "Bo Nix could randomly turn back into a pumpkin at any point." So great.
A children's story is all this time. Me. Yeah. Okay.
4 for me.
All right. Chiefs 5.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Yeah. Chargers 5.
Chargers 5. Yep. Raiders. DEFCON 1. All right.
Oh yeah, pull the alarm.
100%. I looked this up while you were talking a couple of minutes ago. The exercise term for being in DEFCON 1 is a cocked pistol, okay? That is what we are in at this point for the Las Vegas Raiders and their quarterback situation. The pistol is cocked. It is locked and loaded. It is ready to fire for whatever quarterback they can best get their hands on for next season. It's just not good enough with Gardner Minshew and Naden O'Connell. So they are DEFCON 1 for me.
Easy, no brainer. They know it, right? They absolutely know it. I mean, even see the video of Mark Davis telling Shadur something along the lines of he could even be the next Raiders quarterback. It's just,
wait, that happened?
Yeah, it was. I want to have it exactly how it was said, but it was. They were. Oh, who knows? You might be home right now. He said to Shadur.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a Bleacher Report tweet.
Interesting. So, very interesting. Yeah, they're getting their hands on whatever quarterback they possibly can.
Right. They need stability at that position. They're a 1.
Yep.
It's very clear. They're the easiest one in the whole exercise to me. Easier than the Browns. The Browns have heaps of money they need to figure out. The Raiders are just like, well, we don't got anyone unless Aiden O'Connell goes nuclear when we put him in.
Unless Aiden O'Connell takes a DEFCON rating and was like, no, you're preparing for nuclear warfare for somebody else. Nope, here you go. The Denzel Washington, where he just like takes the gun and immediately points it at somebody else. You know,
that's what he has to do.
What movie is that? I haven't seen that movie. People are going to yell at me for that.
It's not Man on Fire, right?
Look, brother,
no,
haven't seen it. I've only seen
Denzel has such a deep catalog that I truly mix up his iconic scenes at this point. Man on Fire, Training Day.
Is it Training Day? No.
I think it's Training Day.
Is it?
People in the comments are just going to be furious right now. I apologize.
Look, yell at us, and that's fine. We'll,
one day we'll just rank the Denzel catalog on this show.
That would be elite.
That's
summer scouting content.
We'll do that for that or no notes. We'll just rank Denzel's catalog.
Yeah. That would be a good one. And then we'd have to, watch them. So then people wouldn't be able to yell at us anymore. Hey, obviously there's a lot of craziness that's going on with this quarterback class. We're getting into it. There's all sorts of stuff that
the equalizer.
What do you mean? What is? Oh, that's what it's from.
Yes.
We got there eventually. People have already screamed at their, radios or headphones or whatever. So I appreciate you saving our butts there a little bit. But look, they call the NFL the greatest reality TV show of all time. It's very, very true. And to keep up with it, we'll be listening to a new podcast called The Offensive Line with Annie Agar this season. Annie is an NFL insider. You probably know her from her Uncomfortable Team Meetings on Social series that you see on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, all the good stuff. She's doing that stuff all the time. On the Offensive Line podcast, she kicks back with the NFL stars and celeb superfans throughout the season to unpack the week's lines, odds, spreads with the usual brand of sharp wit and banter that you're used to from her content. The podcast is packed with humor. It is a must listen to keep up with all the latest news and NFL culture throughout the NFL season. You can follow the Offensive Line on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can access bonus episodes and listen ad-free right now by joining the Wondery Plus app. Flipping over to the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys.
5.
All right. No Dak haters.
Commanders, 5.
Commanders, firm 5 for how MVP candidate Jaden Daniels is playing. Yeah, I said it.
Crazy.
The Giants are a 1, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're at DEFCON 1.
It doesn't matter how well Daniel Jones plays. Like, that storybook is over.
I think
the Giants are going to get a new quarterback.
I think so too, because the Giants are probably going to get rid of a lot of people this offseason, right?
I don't. Brian Dable's coaching for his life right now.
That win in Seattle is a huge win.
Big win.
Huge
it's a big win
for them.
I think Brian Dable is not a bad coach.
No, I don't think so either. That's why it's so disappointing.
I think he's coaching for his life, though.
No, I agree with you 100%. And that's why if Brian Dable gets fired, he should get interviews to be a head coach somewhere next year.
I think he will.
Not just like offensive coordinator. I think he was dealt a bad hand. Not that he's been perfect, but it just hasn't gone well for them. But hey, man, for you to march into Seattle, a team that's playing really, really well, Mike McDaniel's coaching really well. No Malik Neighbors. And Tyrone Tracy, pod alum.
Well, they were forced to give their best running back the ball, which helped.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Singletary got
seriously,
hurt. Right.
Singletary was hurt, so it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we got to play Tyrone Tracy now. Wait, he's our best running back on the team by a mile. It just makes you laugh every time how often this happens.
The New York Giants. So Daniel Jones has 2 years left on his deal. He's 47 mil on the cap this year. Then it goes to 41 next year. Then it goes to 58. The dead cap gets much, much, much lower after this season. You can save 19 million on the cap if you cut him, and then 47 mil on the cap if you cut him the year after that. So there's an out after this year. It's DEFCON 1. I, again, think there's going to be a lot of changes in New York for next season. And anytime that you have regime changes, and you have a chance to sort of marry that with a quarterback change, you're going to do it, right? And I think that's why the Giants are probably sitting there at DEFCON 1, taking a good look at this upcoming quarterback class. What do you have the Eagles as?
A 4. It was shocking how difficult they were.
I also have them a 4.
But you wanted to make it a 3.
I wanted to make it a 3 because Hurts is not playing well. And Hurts did not play well down the stretch of last year either.
Thank you. It's not just this year at this point.
No. Jalen has not played well since 2022, in my opinion, since the Super Bowl run. And what makes this a 4 instead of a 3 is he has 4 more years left on his deal and then 3 more void years on top of that. So his cap goes from 13 mil this year to 21 next year to 31 the next year, then 41, then 47. So it gradually goes up throughout the 4 years on top of his current deal that he has. And then once the contract year ends, he has $97 million in cap hits that are spread out through void years. And I was talking with Spielberger about this because I was like, hey, explain the void years to me and the advantage here. And he's like, okay, well, because I knew it helped you spread out cap stuff, but I wanted to know exactly what happens if, you sign them to a new contract and what happens on the money that was on the void years, how does it convert, things like that. And essentially what Brad said was the idea is you are hoping that you sign these players to extensions by the time you get to the void years, because if you do that, then you can keep the void money that you owe them from the previous contract, you can keep that spread out throughout the cap, so it's not a lot. But if you cut them or they're not on the team anymore, then all the 4 years accelerate to the first year. So they would have like $97 million in dead cap. Now, if they were able to move on from him, like post-June, Brad was saying you can kind of spread it out between 2 years. And Jalen's contract, he was telling me, is a little different anyways in how the money is spread out. But all that to say, Jalen Hurts is not playing well right now. They're probably going to go through some coaching changes as well this upcoming season. But Hurts, them moving on from Hurts is more off the table than it probably should be because of that contract. So that's why I landed on a 4 as well.
That was it for me. My thought was, without that contract, this is a legitimate conversation right in the middle, depending on how he plays the rest of the year. But they're kind of locked in with him. And you could already kind of see if this year doesn't go the way the Eagles want it to, the story is going to be the Eagles hiring a coach that was brought in to get things right around Hurts. Not
right.
The old, hey, they're moving on from Sirianni. They're probably going to redo all of this. This is Howie's show. And this is his guy. So if Sirianni can't get him to play better, then somebody else will be hired to do that. And whether they succeed or not is a giant question, but that's how it will go.
You saying it's a giant question is a great transition into what I was about to say, which is if Brian Daboll gets fired from the Giants and Nick Sirianni gets fired from the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm the Eagles, I'm hiring Brian Daboll.
That's interesting. I think schematically, yes.
Think about what he did with Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
And how he was able to maximize what Josh was. Now, I'm not saying that Hurts is the same kind of athlete that Allen is. It's a different quarterback here, but like that dual threat ability, Daboll was able to bring the best version of that out of Josh Allen.
He was. Allen's a way better runner, but
yeah, but at least Hurts is an advantageous runner. Like again, like sure. I think I have a lot of respect for what Brian Daboll does with offenses and quarterbacks. And you throw him into an offense with AJ Brown, with Devontae Smith, with a good offensive line. I know there might be some changes on the offensive line, but it's still a dang good offensive line. I think Philly's offense cooks if Brian Daboll's the head coach.
I agree with you. My biggest fear with that is the first time adversity hits because Hurts is struggling. Daboll's not going to do Daboll's going to explode. And how you take that is how you take it. But Hurts is a guy to me that won't take that well. He'll throw it right back at him. So that's the powder keg. It's a big risk where I think you're right. Schematically, I love it. But from a personality match, that's where they need to be so careful with this hire, in my opinion.
Yeah,
where, you know who I would hire if he got fired? I'd hire Kevin Stefanski. That's who I would hire if I was the Eagles.
All right.
I think that personality is a little bit more Kevin O'Connell-ish, where it's like, okay, I'm very flatline. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be okay. And that's not always perfect, but there's a lot of good that comes with that. Daboll's like, hey, you fucked up. Like, whether you want to hear it or not, I'm going to tell you. And honestly, the NFL needs more of that sometimes these days.
I don't think Hurts is afraid of criticism, though. Like, even from, like, the Saban era, right? I mean,
that's true. I mean, he got benched. Like,
right. Like, he's used to being pushed. And maybe it's so I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong, but I wonder if Daboll and Hurts bring the best out of each other.
That's what I'm saying. It's a very wide range of outcomes higher.
Okay.
Which in the NFL, to be honest with you, that's how you should be hiring. Because if you're not, you want the ceiling.
Yeah.
You want the ceiling. Hire for the ceiling. If it bottoms out, you're just like 80% of everyone else.
It's also
Who
how
cares?
you should draft. It's also how teams should draft.
Yeah, most of the time. Sometimes.
Most of the time.
Sometimes. You shouldn't take Mekhi Becton over Tristan Wirfs, but
all right, that one's fair. But
you can see what lives rent free in my brain.
Go Bucks, baby. NFC North, I think, is the easiest division because, in my opinion, they are all DEFCON 5.
I had all of them at a 5. The Lions, I can call a 4, and it's not anything against Jared Goff. It's just that they're a team that, and I know they kind of did this with Hendon Hooker, but if they drafted some day 3 guy again with tremendous upside, but is so raw, and just to see what could happen, I wouldn't hate it. But this is really a division full of 5s.
Yeah, it's a division full of 5s. And Jared Goff himself, you can't move on from him basically until 2027 with the extension that he signed.
And he's fine.
Right, and the Lions very clearly can absolutely cook with him at quarterback. So this is DEFCON 5s all around. Chicago, you just have Caleb Williams. We just talked about Goff. Jordan Love, you signed him to the extension. Like, he's going to be the future of that team for a long time. And then for the Vikings, Sam Darnold's playing well, and you have JJ McCarthy. So I mean, it's again DEFCON 5.
I mean, that one's maybe the easiest.
We're big chilling in that division. NFC South. I have the Falcons as a 5.
Yeah, the most 5-iest of 5s. Oh,
outside of Mahomes, this might be. This really might be the 5.
I had the Bills at a 4, and I had the Falcons at a 5. Think about that. Oh God, it's ridiculous. Good for them.
Although you can never have too many, so you just never know. You never know.
Maybe.
There are 5 obviously having Penix with Kirk Cousins. I also have the Buccaneers as a 5. I don't think there's a hint of them. Maybe a day 3 quarterback, but I mean. They've got Trask. They even have Michael Pratt as like a practice squad guy for them. So I don't think that the Buccaneers are going to be at all whatsoever in even like a depth quarterback conversation. So I have them as a 5. I have the Carolina Panthers are DEFCON 1 for me.
Yeah, pull the lever.
Okay. All right. So they're DEFCON 1. Andy Dalton's a free agent after this season, so you don't even have you could, stick with Dalton. If you want to stick with him, you would have to sign him to a new contract, which, if he's playing well enough for that to be the case, probably a little too expensive of a vet, and you're kicking the can down the road. Maybe we get to that point. I don't know, but I think this is a 1. I think you're absolutely taking every single look that you can at this upcoming quarterback class, no matter what. And then the Saints. Playing well. Admittedly, this is also before Monday Night Football. We're recording this. I have them as a 3.
Okay.
What do you have them as?
I had them as a 4.
Okay.
But it was teetering close to a 5 because Carr is on the roster next year with his money. And I'm interested in to see what Spencer Rattler could do one day with this team. So They're a 4 just because I will never like Derek Carr as a starting quarterback for a team with like a significant cap hit. I just always think every time you kind of get lifted up with him, you get let down. And I know that's harsh, but it's just the reality.
I'm
and
very
interested. I think their whole family's blocked me on Twitter, so it doesn't really matter if I even say it.
Nice, right?
It's like
fans of the pod.
Carr's fine, but you just always want more. But this team,
this year,
I like the Rattler.
You know, like he's playing really well this year. He's the number 1 graded quarterback in our system under pressure. He's playing really well with Clint Kubiak. Like he is.
Yes, that's the key.
Now I will say this:
he's kept him at a true dropbacks at such an insane rate that I give a real tip of the cap to Kubiak and credit to Carr for running the offense. Like credit to him.
The complicated part about this. Now I forgot about Spencer Rattler. You know, I did. I forgot they had Spencer Rattler, so I think that's a good call out there. So I think
that played heavily into
this. This is probably a 4. I gave it a 3. It should probably be a 4, not only because of the respect to Derek Carr, but also his contract situation. He's got 2 more years after this year. The problem with Carr, and the reason why I ended up putting it as 3, is because his cap hit jumps from $12 million this year to $51 next year, and then $61 the year after, and then he has 3 more void years on top of that.
Yeah, it was a doozy.
So maybe that should be more evidence to me just saying, hey, it's a 4, they're going to roll with Carr, but this year was always the decision-making year for Derek Carr. Like, because the cap absolutely shoots up. I can't remember what are the guarantees? I think they fall off after this year, though. I think he gets movable.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yes. The structure of it wasn't insane. Like only $60 million was fully guaranteed at signing.
So they can move on next year, and it's basically an even split. Like the cap number is $51 million on the cap, but then they still save like $1 million if they cut him. So there's not a lot of guaranteed money there, and then they can save almost $30 million if they were to cut him the year after that. So this is sort of the decision-making time for him. But then he got $17 million in the void years that accelerate, obviously, if he is not on the team, like we mentioned. So there's that kind of part that goes into the conversation. But all that to say, he is playing really well this season. He's playing well enough to where they're probably going to give him a shot next year. And even if they don't, they got Spencer Rattler. I have it as DEFCON 3. I should have added it as a DEFCON 4 at the worst. Maybe even a DEFCON 5, honestly, because I don't even know if this team's going to be looking at quarterback when it comes to next season. So
yeah, it was a very questionable 4 for me, leaning towards a 5. The Saints, yeah, they have their quarterback room. I had the Bucs as a 4. I don't like Kyle Trask as their backup personally. I love what Baker's done to rebuild his career. I wouldn't mind seeing the Bucs get an interesting round 3 to 5 quarterback in this draft behind Baker.
You know, and again, it sort of depends. Like if we're in a draft where we've got some interesting quarterback names who are falling because
that's what I was
just
thinking.
The overall outlook. I could see it, but it's a 5 because this is Baker's team, you know. But
yes, it is Baker's team.
I think day 3 at the earliest is when they could look at a QB. And if you at home are saying, okay, well that should make it a 4, then I would make it a 4. But it's Baker Mayfield.
Fine, you win.
Well, I mean, like it just kind of depends where the scale is. I don't even think there's a guarantee that like they would take one on day 3 at this point. Just
there's
what they've got. And again, picking up Michael Pratt when the Packers cut him. So. All right, we got one division left. Before we get to that, though, got a question for everybody out there. As an adult, did you make time to learn new things as often as you like, or do you think that was something that you might have lost in childhood? Kids, they're always learning, they're always growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity, that sense of bettering yourself. Therapy can help you reconnect with that sense of wonder because that back to school era, even from yourself, it can really come at any time. I've told people before, and I tell people on this podcast, I've been doing it for 1.5 years. It's been wonderful. It originally started as something that I really needed help getting over. I needed help kind of getting through something, processing my emotions. And it has since become something that now I'm going every other week. And it's just these check-ins. And sometimes there's things that I need to deal with, whether it's relationships or work or friendships or just like stuff that's happening, stuff that's in my head, stuff that I'm thinking about. And sometimes I'm really unpacking a lot of different stuff, but other times it's just like a check-in. It's sometimes, people think about therapy that it's got to be like a negative thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'll go to therapy and I don't really have a lot of like things I need help dealing with. And I just kind of get to talk about life, and we get to talk about how good life is, and you get to appreciate when things are going well as well. So again, it's been wonderful for me. If you were thinking about starting therapy, give help a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible into your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire. You'll get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time with no additional charge. You can rediscover your curiosity and bettering yourself with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/NFLSE to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/NFLSE. Last division, NFC West here. I have one DEFCON 5.
Oh, I had 3.
Oh, you have 3?
Yeah. Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, 5-5-5.
No, I guess I should have the Niners as a 5. I should have the Niners as a 5.
It's Brocktober.
It is Brocktober. It is Brocktober. He caught that L yesterday from the Arizona Cardinals, but if they had a kicker, they probably don't, to be honest with you. I have the Cardinals as DEFCON 5 because it's Kyler Murray. I should have the San Francisco 49ers as DEFCON 5. Brock Purdy, it's the best version of himself. I have been a Brock Purdy skeptic. I will sit here on this podcast and absolutely admit that. I have been extremely slow to recognizing the Mr. Irrelevant and somebody that I thought was just a nice college quarterback to him ascending truly to good NFL levels. But he's a top 10 quarterback at this point. And I know that could be crazy for a lot of people to say. It's crazy for me to admit. Honestly, I'm telling you where I'm coming from here. But he plays his position very well. And he's very smart. And he has a mastery of that offense. And I got to give him his credit. So this is DEFCON 5. He's got 2 more years left on his rookie deal. But he's up for an extension this summer if they want to sign him to one. And I think that they're going to sooner rather than later. I think that he is going to be their guy. I think Kyler Murray's obviously locked in. I love Geno. I have the Seattle Seahawks as DEFCON 4.
Okay.
And I would love to have it as a 5. But he's got 2 years left on his deal. Cap shoots up from 26 mil to 38 mil next season. Are they cool with riding that in, or are they're gonna come up with an extension? I don't know. It felt like it was sort of up in the air when Pete Carroll was still there as the head coach. Maybe Mike Macdonald thinks differently. Maybe Mike Macdonald gets in there and he's like, no, this is our guy. You sign him to another 3-year extension right now. Because I think Geno is playing great football.
Me too.
I want that to be very clear. I just have it as a 4 because it kind of feels like they've maybe been a little bit slow to talk about the future with Geno at this point in time. So I love Geno, but that's why I had them as DEFCON 4.
Yeah, they were a 5 for me. I think Geno's been incredible this year. I love him in Ryan Grubb's offense. I think it's a perfect fit. He's cost effective. I know you mentioned the cap hit going up. He's still cost effective. What you're getting from Geno is still good value. And they have Sam Howell behind him.
Right.
I don't think the Seahawks should. I think the Seahawks need to build an offensive line. Is what they need to do.
The line's been bad. I didn't realize this.
Bad.
They are
terrible.
4th in the NFL in highest pressure percentage this season.
They pass above expected, I think, at the highest rate. So I'm sure that doesn't help, but the line's not good either. So, and injured, but that plays a part into not being good. The only team that wasn't a 5 for me was the Rams at a 3.
Okay, I also have the Rams as a 3.
Because every time I'm like, hey, it's probably time for Sean McVay to turn the page. Matt Stafford's like, I'm not retiring. So, and he's really good.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah, exactly. So they're a 3 for me because at some point you got to get the next guy. And it's not Stetson Bennett.
It's not Stetson Bennett. I can tell you that it's not going to be Stetson Bennett. I'm very confident in saying that it's not Stetson Bennett. So
they're a 3 for me.
So I think that they're also a 3. Stafford's got 3 more years left on his deal. It is cuttable after this year. You get a little bit of relief after this with cap saving, but I think that that's probably less of the story. The bigger part of the story is they have the number 5 overall pick currently as the draft stands today. Now, obviously, it's just after week 5. There's a lot of football left to be played. But if the Rams are sitting in a situation where they can have the top QB on the board and they like one, I feel like they should do it.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why they're a 3 for me.
Yeah, and the reality is, I think Stafford's options will be retire or keep playing because he's not going to want to go start somewhere.
No. This is
the money will clear.
Yeah, this is his last stop.
He'll retire, and it's like, okay, cool. The money's off the books.
Yeah.
So I've said this for a while, and I do not think it's going to happen. I think the best place for Shadir Sanders to go is the Rams.
I would love it. I'd love it.
I think he would. I think McVay would be a good coach for him from the relationship standpoint and the X's and O's standpoint. I think he would teach Shadir a lot. I think Shadir would be in an environment that takes the spotlight off him for a little bit if Stafford is still there. And I think it's a player-friendly environment, but also he would settle into the NFL at the right pace. And I have a really bad feeling he's going to be drafted as a savior to a team like the Raiders, and it could completely blow up because it'll go too fast.
If he gets drafted to the Rams, he can legally change his name to Shredder Sanders for what he's going to do to defenses. You see, folks, that's why you listen to minute number 58 on the podcast. That's why you do it right there, because you're not getting that horrendous pun anywhere else but right here on NFLSC. Let us know what you thought of our thoughts of the quarterback class and the quarterback situation that we've talked about for every single team here in the NFL. Like we said, you guys, for your favorite team, you're watching these quarterbacks very intently every single week. And you also have a lot of context when it comes to the talk over the summer, training camp, preseason, all this stuff. So we would love to hear from you. Let us know what DEFCON rating. Remember, 1's the worst, 5 is the best. Let us know what DEFCON rating your team is. Fire off in the comments. That's the best way to do that. YouTube.com/@NFL Stock Exchange. If you are listening on audio only, you could hit us up on Twitter and Instagram and give us your takes there at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers. Yeah, I think that's about it. Connor, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No. A fun show because, once again, we're always trying to lay the foundation for the draft. That's the goal of this show. And this is an episode where now you come out of it and go, okay, I know the teams I can count on one hand that are all in on the quarterback class. I know the teams that can go either way with the way the rest of the NFL season plays out, and the teams that instead will look to build their roster around the stability they have under center as it stands today.
So, yeah, obviously we've talked about the NFL draft side of things with what we think sort of this quarterback class, but it also comes down to desperation of what these teams think and how desperate they could be for a quarterback as to where these guys might end up going in the draft. Even if you think it's a down draft, if a team needs a quarterback, that's what they're going to do. They're going to pick a quarterback. So that's part of what goes in this conversation. Next episode, we'll probably get back to some prospect profiles. By the way, if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, go get one right now, because we got more than 200 players in the mock draft simulator right now. You can go through 5 rounds of the mock draft simulator. You can click on all these players' profiles. You can see their PFF grades, how they're doing this season. And I have all 210 on there ranked for you guys to see as well. We'll probably talk about a couple of them when we get to the Wednesday episode too. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. See you on Wednesday.